Greetings, my friends. Welcome to another practice session emphasizing the neck and the shoulders. As usual, let me start us off in a basic upright, relaxing position, this wuji standing posture. And as well, let me remind you to do the preparatory work that might make this set a little easier for you. If you have especially tight neck and shoulders, maybe put a little bit of that liniment on that I was recommending before. Maybe you can put some on your knees, do a little foot massage beforehand. Make sure that your body is soft and open, ready to practice. Make sure that you are softening your shoulders open alongside this line here where the hands fall on the side of the body, kind of touching the side seam of my pants with the tip of my middle finger. It doesn't have to be exactly there, depending on your shoulders and depending on your pants. But this is the general shape, rather than collapsed forward or drawn backward. We don't want either of those. So as we move around, just as during the practice sessions, hopefully you've had the chance to work on this before, lengthen away so that your arms are pulled out. If I was to stand alongside you and lengthen your arms along the shape of your body, the arms falling down, resting on your sides. Releasing your neck, decompressing the upper spine, softening your shoulders, tops of the shoulders, the front corner of the shoulder, the back of the shoulder, allowing your scapula, your shoulder blades, to gently slide down your back rather than when you relax your back, rather than collapsing forward, your shoulder blades release further down the back. Your chest is soft and empty. This helps to further release these lines of the shoulder. Your elbows hang, softening all the way to your wrists and your hands. And again, you'll notice how open my hands are. It's not because I'm holding my hands straight. It's because I'm softening my palms and my wrists, my forearms, so that my fingers are not being drawn in. When I had a lot of tension from doing carpentry and the martial arts, my hands were always a little bit curled when I stood here. That's where they were when I softened. And over time, as I got better at letting go of that tension, my fingers slowly lengthened. And that is happening because I'm letting go, not because I'm adding anything. Don't add. Releasing any tension in your belly. Softening your lower back. Make sure that your breath is uninhibited. You're not controlling it. You're simply making space for it by relaxing. Softening your hips, your glutes, your thighs. Any tension around your knees. Softening your lower legs, the musculature alongside the shin, your calves, your ankles and your feet. closing when you're ready. Again, as usual, I recommend to people that they also take the time to stand a bit longer than I'm doing here. So if you have extra time before class, feel free just to pause this and do 10 or 15 minutes of standing, just what we were practicing there. Give your body more time to disentangle itself, to release those wrinkles of tension in your clothes, to get the starch out of your clothes, and things begin to hang and open in a way that only stillness and quiet, gentle patience can allow. You can't rush relaxation, you just wait. And as usual, also allow me to welcome those of you who are finding yourself here for the first time, who are new to this. Please do allow me to recommend that you check down below for links to an introduction to this forum, or in the very least to the first of this 100-day series. It's always better to start at the beginning rather than trying to jump into the middle of a class series that's ongoing. You might find that a little bit more enjoyable. For everybody else, let's start circling the palms around the navel. Deeply releasing your hands, your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders. Release your neck. Of course, these are the emphasis of this particular series. Getting very good at softening through here. But also for this movement in particular, we start by drawing our awareness and our center of relaxation into the middle of the body, deeply releasing our abdomen, our lower back, making space for our breath. Both directions. Again, your awareness sinking into the body. Take your time. Relaxing deeply. Feels good. Hands sliding around the waist. Again, remember to not lean back, to not arch your back, sway, or collapse your shoulders forward in order to reach. Also, don't twist your arms and wrists in a way that is painful, especially if you're dealing with an arthritic condition or inflammation, maybe damaged bursa in your shoulder, this kind of thing. Please be careful. Move your arms into a position that is comfortable and easy, and over time, as you continue to open and to heal, you'll be able to move more fully into this fully flexible position, this open, soft, waving motion. Releasing. You can warm your lower back like this. It can be useful to go from side to side. Also, along the center line, I'm using the eye of my fist on my Mingmen, opposite my navel, just up along the spine. But perhaps most importantly, for our practice of releasing the neck, make sure that your tailbone is especially warm. Best, of course, to have your hands directly against your skin, but I'm on camera. So gently scrubbing up and down, warming that space. If it feels especially nice to have that space warmed, then I highly recommend, again, using an infrared lamp on this area, sitting in a hot bath, doing this kind of warming regularly throughout the day, and especially before practice. And you might find that just by warming and softening this area here on the tailbone and a little bit above, that your neck begins to soften. If you have chronic neck tension, give that a try. You might be surprised at how well it helps. And then softening one side of the neck, then the other. Releasing your shoulders, especially that opposite shoulder. And now some left and right, yin and yang. I want you to pay extra attention to the tips of your middle fingers. Not only are they generally in line with the side seam of your pants as you soften, it's okay to move around a little bit. Don't be too rigid with that. That's just a general location space. To keep your hands along the sides of your body instead of falling in front. Paying attention to the tips of the middle fingers, the centers of your palms. What does that feel like as you move? As you lengthen down through your wrists to your hands, to your most distant finger, most distal. And again, for this next one, not only paying attention to the tip of your middle finger and your palm, but also the inside here of your wrist, this line of your wrist. For those of you that did the channel, the fascial massage with me, you already know which channel I'm talking about. So, palms against the back, the center of the palm, the tip of the middle finger, the center of your wrist, paying attention to those as you soften one side of your spine, then the other. Keep the palms released. Keep the tip of the middle finger lengthening and your wrist relaxed. The center of the inside of your wrist. Lengthening through. And now closing. Notice the palms facing down, helping chi to descend. Center the palms facing down, and then slowly turning in. The center of the palm resting on top of the navel. The other center of the palm resting on top of that center of the palm. All in line with the navel. Awareness sinking inside the body. So the channel of note for today, the sinew channel that we are working on. So far we've covered the lungs, the large intestine, and now we're going to cover tips of the middle fingers. This is the pericardium channel. It runs along the inside of the arm into the chest and breast area. So from the tip of the middle finger, through the palm, through this collection point here at the wrist, It widens a bit as it moves up to the inside of the elbow here, all the way up into here, in this area, the collection point kind of in front of and inside the armpit. And then it extends across below the pectoral muscle here, a little bit in the lower breast, a little bit in the rib side through here, this stretching point. You can feel it, and we'll feel it more as we practice. This lengthening, if I lengthen this way, it lengthens and pulls in a particular space. That's the sinew channel that you're feeling. This channel also relates to and connects with the diaphragm, which is this muscle of breath work that is inside the body, which is shaped like a bowl, which flips itself inside out, and that's how we breathe. It sinks down on the inside. And the pericardium sinew channel innervates and relates with that diaphragm, all the way on the inside. So throughout this practice, again, noticing the palms, the tip of the middle finger lengthening through this point that we often talk about in the center of the palm. The acupoint for that is pericardium 8, Lao Gong, the center of work. It's the palace of work. And so all the way through into here, noticing the breath, the release of the rib side as we lengthen through the hands. All of these are related. And so if you want all of these spaces to be open, we need to know about the full length of the channel. So even as you stand here and closing, feel this line here wrapping around, settling. There's a kind of lengthening happening all the way through here. If you were to instead close down on those spaces, closing here, closing up in here, these channels would not open. But instead, if you open through here, softening your rib side, your diaphragm, lengthening open through the shoulder, softening and making space on the bottom of the arm, suddenly not only does breath become easier, but chi flow and settling become easier. All of these are interrelated. This is the pericardium sinew channel. Let's start with these comfortable hip circles. You can place the tips of your middle fingers into this space, the soft space in front of your hip, as well as feeling that tight bundle of tissues through here, helping it to soften open as you circle. Both directions. And then the larger. Emphasizing letting go all the way around. Remember that it's very easy to create movement through clenching and tightening, and we want to do the opposite. We make space, and that movement flows through that space. It's a completely different way of being in your body. And then the upper spine. Continuing to lengthen down through your arms, especially on this opposite side as this opens, all the way around. Lengthening all the way through along that pericardium sinew channel. I'll just keep saying it for you. Rolling your eyes, leading the movement with your eyes if you like. Both directions. Looking down between your feet, lengthening the back of the neck from the base to the top near the skull, and then looking up, softening your throat all the way up to the base of your jaw, your tongue, up and down. Moving your eyes, allowing the breath to be part of the movement. Eventually, we work on developing freeing the breath within the body so that it's the movement that breathes for you. But in the meantime, in the very least, you want to allow your movement to support rather than inhibit your movements. And certainly don't hold your breath. Closing. Remember that the pericardium sinew channel relates with the diaphragm, with this movement of the breath through here. So by noticing the breath and allowing the breath to be a part of the lengthening and the expression through the arms and the shoulders, softening your chest, all of this helps to open and free movement through the sinew channel. Let's do a bit of shoulder releasing. Preparation for snake softening its front and its back. Full circles, releasing all the way around. Remember to have a space that you close toward and open away from, and to emphasize again the release. Both directions. Aware of the palm, tip of the middle finger. Is there a point in this circle when that pericardium line along the inside of the wrist, inside of the elbow, and this line under the front of the chest, is there a point when that is lengthened and opened in this circle? The answer is yes. And the trick is whether or not you can find it. You can even pause there for a moment as you move through that moment of lengthening, feeling that entire space stretching open. It's not stretching because you're pushing it. Stretching because you release it open. And because your movements are so well timed that this entire line opens all at once. Same thing as we do the double-sided movement. Find that moment when all of this lengthens through. Doesn't matter which direction you begin in. try to create a image, a memory device for the pericardium, the heart protector. It's the protective sac around the heart. And relate that to the middle finger somehow. Just create an image, something memorable, something related to your middle finger, whatever that is for you. Every culture is a little bit different, every background. Maybe you have a particular ring that you wear on the middle finger. Doesn't matter what it is, but find a way to relate that to this idea of the pericardium, the heart protector, and you will more easily remember this channel. Opening on one side, opening on the other. And really this openness continues, but there will be a moment when it feels the most obvious and most accessible. Oh, feels good. You can also include the shoulders, the movement up the spine, taking note of any moments where you feel that lengthening through the pericardium channel, sinew channel line. Deepening this level of awareness for your body. Tapering off. Notice how learning about each of these particular lines and sinew channels forces you to pay attention to different aspects of your shoulder and eventually the neck. We'll begin feeling all the way around our body, paying attention to how they relate elsewhere in the body. It's never just this one spot. It's always an interconnected whole. And so this is one way of exploring those interconnections. And so you want to be able to feel all of the parts of your neck and your shoulders, especially for the context of our practice here, and to allow them to open and be soft. All of them. There isn't a spot where you hang on to tension here while we're relaxed over here. We soften all of it. It feels quite nice. Let's do some preparation for black snake. Looking up, over the shoulder, back and down. This is an especially wonderful one for lengthening open that pericardium sinew channel. Notice that line from beneath the breast, associated with your breath and the diaphragm, all the way down to the tip of the middle finger, as it opens on the opposite side in particular. Looking away, allowing that to spread open. Now looking down and up and back. Slightly different angle on what's being released. Allow your body to adjust and to open. Moving your eyes, allowing your breath to be free. I'll take my headphones off for the next part of the series, but please continue to release the pericardium sinew channel and to avoid adding pressure to your neck. Let's perhaps start adding another repetition for some of these movements. So I'll do 5 of each. I think we're around day 20. And so we want to begin slowly increasing the number to strengthen the postural muscles around the neck and shoulders. But again, please stop if it starts to feel like too much. Don't push hard. This is supposed to be easy. Feels good. For those of you who haven't heard yet, when we reach up and our hand moves behind our head, and we either just place our hand on the back of our head, we turn. If your shoulder is able to soften further, which makes it more flexible, and you're able to reach comfortably to grab a hold of your ear, as long as it's not putting any additional strain on your shoulder or your neck, you can gently tug on the ear and allow that to help you turn. And an interesting way to practice is to try holding on to different spots in your ear each time you turn, and you'll notice it will slightly change the angle, which vertebra is helping look up and down. It's another way to practice, and it's a good way to loosen up your neck and shoulders. But again, only if you already have the softness and flexibility here. But just knowing that that's a possibility and that's a way to take your practice might be fun and useful for somebody. But please do wait until the right moment for your practice to do these additional things. Don't push ahead. You end up hitting the point of diminishing returns where you actually get worse instead of better. So stay in the realm of what's good for you. Try to pay attention to your body and the feedback you're getting. More is not better. Further is not better. Just enough is best. General rule. Let's do some preparation for white snake. Notice this moment as you're lengthening down, your wrists are bending a little bit, and there's this softening and lengthening all the way through the pericardium sinew channel on the way down. This space is sinking as well. Perhaps you notice if something happens with your breath, especially if you open your mouth and let the breath go out. All of this is related. It's only tension that disconnects these aspects of the body. Feels good. Make sure that you do not lean back, but do notice this opening and lengthening. Falling open. Your back stays soft so that it does not arch. Don't lock your knees or your hips. Your neck stays floating upward even when your hands in your chest sink. Lengthening all the way through, all the way up the arm. In the very least, this aspect of the wrist and your palm and your fingertips should feel open. If you can, find a way to open all the way through. Notice your breath, softening as much as you can, letting go. No tension left in even to the fingertips. Soft. Nice and long, let your body spread itself out. Notice that lengthening along the pericardium channel. There's a moment when there's a full opening along that line. You might even get that nerve flossing feeling as you lengthen through and everything stretches out, tingling, or maybe even an electric feeling. Don't push into it. We're not trying to stimulate those things. We're trying to soften so much that those areas open. Shoulder blades sink down the back. Elbows high enough so the shoulder blades can settle. Chest lifting, chest sinking, lengthening all the way through so that there's a softness along this part of your arm. Your chest is released, your breath is effortless. Noticing that relationship between Lao Gong, those points on your palms that I mentioned, your navel, and perhaps the space just between the navel and your spine, that middle Danxian space. Very important space of cultivation. Soft and comfortable. Don't hang on to anything. With every move, be a little bit more loose and open and connected. Your mind, even if just a little bit more quiet, more settled into the present moment. You're not trying to force your emotions to change. But you do want to create the space within which they can begin to relax, open. Palms softened open, wrists released all the way around the circle that your wrists are making. This space in through here that opens. Make sure that opposite hip and knee stay open. You're turning away from them and then turning back toward them without them twisting a whole bunch. Lengthening the pericardium sinew channel. Turn your waist, not your hips. You can move your eyes along with the movement if that helps. Lengthen along the inside through letting go. You're letting go. All of this releases open. That will be the same for every sinew channel. The way we find it and lengthen it is to let it go. It falls open all the way in the center of the body. Remember, this isn't just about the shoulders. It's not just about the hand. The whole body is related. This set, of course, emphasizes softening the shoulders, but this is the front of the shoulder. Letting go all the way through. Don't hang on to your arms. And then during this turnover period, don't lift your shoulder. Let your shoulder blades slide down and be comfortable, effortless, leading with the tip of the middle finger, softening the sides of your body. Palms and wrists are soft. Notice that moment. Softened open. Center of the wrist. The inner soft side of the elbow is released. The front corner of the shoulder, that space just the lower part of your pec, your breast, your breath, your rib side, all loosened. Again, slightly wider stances. Lengthen ourselves out, taking all of the wrinkles out of our shirts and our pants by spreading things open. If we start all crinkled up, then it's hard to move openly. So instead we are settled here. Continue that length. Don't let anything fold up in an uncomfortable way. Then we start the movement. Opening, lengthening the pericardium line all the way to the fingertip. For me, this is an especially good moment in through here when all of this opens. Notice the middle finger taking part in the movement. The palm. Here the wrist again is open. This front part of the elbow softened through. Turn your waist. Circling around, shoulders stay soft. Remember that you can allow your eyes to be part of the movement as well. Let's do it one more time on either side. Much of this movement does still here lead with that tiger's mouth, this part of the hand. But you do want to acknowledge those moments when the leading part of the hand is the palm, the middle finger. And allow that to open all the way through without kinking or tightening up. But instead you're softening open, letting that line go. And we need to do this with all of the lines that we're learning. But again, we're just learning them one at a time as a way to pay attention. Later, just keep in mind that you can return to notice when any of these are tight. And if anything is being obstructed, then probably everything is being obstructed. And if you have a particularly difficult line that we work on, particularly difficult channel, you'll know that you can return to it as often as you need to in your practice, or use other methods like acupuncture or massage to help make it free. And then that makes all of your movements a bit easier. Release that line. Release your chest. Your chest opens and lifts a little bit. Your chest sinks. Lengthening open all the way through. Soften your palms. And remember that as a general rule with the shoulders, you don't want to come too far back behind you, I know I've said it a lot. I just want to reiterate it. That even then we're trying to soften this open. If you pull this open, again, you're kinking something else. And if you kink and block anything, then everything gets blocked. Which part of a hose can you fold and kink and not have the water stop? The whole body mind is one process. We have to have all of it open together. And as a general rule, except for those times where we obviously are breaking that rule, the shoulder is soft, the elbow is a little bit in front of this shoulder line, and the wrist is just a little bit in front of the elbow. That will keep us from doing this kind of thing. So if you're never sure, just look down, see if your elbow is being pulled back, or if your wrist is being pulled back in any way, and keep this gentle curve coming around the body. Even when we're open like this is as open as I get, and look, I'm not doing this. This is how we soften our shoulders, soften our neck without adding extra areas of stagnation or compromise. Palms face each other. Closing. Where we are in North America right now is going through a bit of a heat wave. And I don't like turning the air conditioning on because it makes too much noise. So within this room here, with all these lights on, even though all the windows are closed, turns it into a bit of an easy bake oven. Nice and warm, which has been really good for my training because I noticed that if my chi is settled, as strange as it may seem, my chi settles, my body opens, and it's much more able to deal with extremes of temperature, highs and lows. And it sounds so counterintuitive because we're just letting go. How can that make a difference? I'm letting heat accumulate in my belly, but somehow it keeps me cool. It's quite wonderful. I think just some decade or so ago, I met Shoko-san and learned the snake and turtle set about 20 years ago, as of this filming. And back then, even though I was younger and supposedly fit, that I would have been lying on the floor in a puddle of my own perspiration. But now, it's just comfortable. It's amazing. Qigong is amazing. Let's do just a little bit of circling this way. Letting that wave travel down the length of your body. Opening the front of the body without compressing your lower back. Just lengthen the front. Sink down, lead with your hands. Your hips travel back. Don't allow any pressure to build up in your back. And simply allow your hips to come forward without using your back, keeping your neck long. Let's do one more. Let your hips travel back, your spine lengthen. And then let's mix those together and make the turtle drinking chi. Remember to emphasize freedom in the back. You're not using your back to lift you up. Lengthen through the legs. Make use of your hips and your legs. The weight falls through you. You open the front of your body, and then a wave down through the body. Pause for a moment for your body to equalize, and then again. Let's do it 5 times, since we've been increasing the number of some of the more difficult movements. When you get it just right, it's an effortless feeling. It's just a falling through your body downward, like a letting go, and your body stands up, lengthening your spine the whole way. And of course that takes practice, but at least know the direction you're looking for. An effortless, free-flowing release. And just in the same way that softening down is effortless, you just let go. The way up, leading with your top of your head, your nose, opening the front of your body should be just as effortless. One more time. And again, allow me to recommend to people, as I do regularly, that if you find this kind of movement particularly difficult, at any age, at any level of skill, as long as you don't have very specific damage to these parts of your body, I highly recommend working with an expert, a doctor or a therapist if you need that help, or just a personal trainer, and develop the ability to do what's called a deadlift. And that is this movement, learning how to engage the body so that you're lifting very heavy weights without damaging the back at all. There's a softening through and a release upward, so that all of the motion comes through here, strengthening that, stabilizing that. Later on, using Qigong methods, kind of softening and expansion, you won't need those because you will be stabilized from the inside through letting go, and the practice itself becomes something different. But I know that for very many people, the reason that this is uncomfortable and painful is because of a kind of deep instability and weakness in their body. And even though we're practicing Qigong, we do want to learn to be strong. And so if that seems like something that may be helpful for you, I highly recommend just finding somebody, spend a few months even regularly cultivating that as a skill, lifting even light weights, and you will be amazed at how much it helps you with your back pain, your hip pain. Again, I'm not there with you, so please do consult a doctor if you're somebody that has special needs. Some people only have one leg, so you have to make adjustments. But there are ways to do it. Highly recommended. Retrain your body to move in a functional pattern so you're not always hurting yourself. Because this bending over, standing up thing is something we do all the time, and it's the most common way for people to hurt themselves. One of the most common ways. Just as a side note, please take care of yourselves. And then lengthening, again noticing that pericardium line, stretching it open through softening long, not through pushing. Notice these moments where we're softening that channel. And then we release. A wave of release through the body. Softness traveling all the way down the deepest levels of the body, all the way through the feet into the ground. And then as though you are able to gather up the vitality of the earth, and it flows in through your feet, up the inside of the legs, through the perineum, up the tailbone to the lower back, and then forward from the lower back into the center of the body, storing that there. If that sounds strange, don't worry about it. Just emphasize softness. It's as though you reach up and you gather the sky. The sky is clear and open, peaceful and quiet, and that deep stillness washes through you, leaving you all the way through your body as open as the sky. And then into that open space flows this vibrancy, vitality, warmth, nourishing all the way through, especially your lower back. One more. Taking your time. Don't move more quickly than your body is able to release, but also don't move too slowly. As you gather, it looks like I'm making fists, but I'm not. I'm just rounding around this central point on the palm, opening the back of the hand, making space in the middle through softening, through lengthening, not through clenching. And this will be true for all of our Qigong practices. At any time I'm making these hand movements, let's see if I can demonstrate here. It's possible to, I'm going to keep my hand here just so you can see the movement of my wrist. If I make a fist, you'll see that my hand closes in, like my arm gets shorter. Can you see everything gets shorter? I'm not doing anything, I'm just holding my hand here for reference. And then I'm going to instead round my hand to make a fist, but through lengthening instead. I'm going around. Can you see how that works? All of this lengthens so my tissues get longer, not shorter. They're very different. And we want all of our movements to lengthen, open our joints. Our wrists get open, our elbows open, our shoulders especially, our neck open. And so even when it looks like I'm closing something, I'm not. I'm still lengthening. I'm just lengthening around. Again, this may be difficult for some people. Just forget about it. But knowing that it's part of our practice is a thing that you can develop in the future. Very worth practicing. Opening the underside of the arms as you turn, softening open that space along the rib side, space beneath the breast, allowing your breath to be easy, your diaphragm to be free, your belly to move. There are ways to constrict the diaphragm, restrict it. We want to allow everything to make room for it. Here, that pericardium point on my palm is touching the top of my shoulder. Here, it's gently patting this same space we're talking about. Just helping things open a bit, and then tapering off. Let's pause for a moment, settling into Wuji, this open, untroubled space, especially lengthening along that pericardium line, letting it go, letting it fall open, but really through the whole body. And then shifting the practice from simply standing here to allowing your awareness to sink inside your body. If you can, feeling deep into the bones, especially, of course, in the neck, the shoulders, and down the arms, the emphasis of this particular practice, nourishing those deep tissues, deep structures with your attention. We'll just pause for a couple of minutes, being easy and quiet. Warming the pericardium 8 points together. Lao Gong. Just say it once in a while so you can hear it. Occasionally I will refer to it. Lao Gong. These points here. And then placing those points over the centers of your eyes, letting that warmth soak in, nourishing and softening there. Again, I'll take my headphones off for this series, but please do pay extra attention to this pericardium line and take the time to soften anything that needs a little bit of extra help today. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining me. Make sure that you follow all the way through the 100 days in order to allow all of this to soften open and for your knowledge to deepen about what's going on inside the body through Chinese medicine principles. A little bit every day, 100 days in a row. You're doing great. I'll see you tomorrow.